though humankind has used fire for millions of years, a continuing pattern of accidents, deaths, and injuries tells us that there is still a long way to go when it comes to fuel systems and combustion equipment safety. You just heard a story about how a simple hot water heater in a school cost 6 lives because of seemingly simple issues. And this equipment was not nearly as large or complex as that at most industrial sites. Many incidents happen because personnel at industrial sites are often not trained adequately in the safe startup and shutdown of combustion equipment, daily operations, or proper testing of safety devices and maintenance of critical systems. Very few formal classes exist regarding burners, gas piping, safety systems, or fuel-air ratio controls. The fuel and combustion equipment industry itself is very fragmented. Although there are numerous technical books and articles on the subject, and codes and standards provide safety information, much of the knowledge in use seems to be tribal, passed on from person to person, from word of mouth among those who operate and maintain combustion equipment. Much of this information is wrong and misinterpreted. To be sure, most companies attempt to maintain their equipment. However, the maintenance is usually done by someone with little formal training, and equipment is often far removed from its optimum configuration after years of being cobbled together so as to just run. Over the years, while inspecting thousands of pieces of equipment, engineers have experienced many horror stories, and not just the kind that end in explosions. They've witnessed alarms ignored and safety devices turned off. They've seen wooden sticks and cardboard shoved into relays and safety devices to keep the safety interlocks from shutting equipment down, a potentially deadly fix. There seem to be two worlds out there, one where large organizations have enough of this equipment to have very good staff members and practices, and another where there are just a few pieces of this equipment and no one with much knowledge of it. The more common situation is that fuel systems and combustion equipment are some small ancillary part of the operation, and no one is really fully trained or completely understands the equipment or the hazards. Many of the tragedies related to fuels and combustion equipment throughout history could have been prevented with the right PPE. In this case, we're not referring to personal protective equipment, but to people, policies, and equipment. Every fuel or combustion equipment incident begins as a people, policy, or equipment issue. Our goal is to provide you with knowledge of these PPE tools that will dramatically reduce the risks of an incident. Most owners of fuel-fired equipment do not understand the obligations that they have for the safety of their workers and plants. Many professionals responsible for facilities with fuel-fired equipment work within a culture of ignorance, misunderstandings, or denial about the impact of an explosion or fire caused by the operation of this equipment. There have been numerous disasters from gas piping or equipment that failed or had not been installed correctly. As shown here, according to the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, large loss fires between 2000 and 2009 made for losses that averaged $1.1 billion per year during this 10-year period. Most of these incidents occurred in manufacturing and industrial settings. Furthermore, NFPA reports that U.S. fire departments responded to an estimated annual average of 10,500 structural fires in industrial and manufacturing properties in 2005 to 2009. These fires caused annual averages of 11 civilian deaths, 254 civilian fire injuries, and $726 million in direct property damage. These types of losses have been experienced in the United States for many years, often resulting from fuel systems and combustion equipment issues that could easily have been prevented. These losses don't count the hundreds of other significant business interruptions, facilities damage, lawsuits, fines, litigation, and lost market share issues that have also occurred. Smaller but more frequent production outages also cost millions in business interruptions, supply chain delays, lost orders, and decreased competitiveness. These losses are often deemed to be culturally accepted as a general cost of doing business. It doesn't have to be this way. Fuel systems and combustion equipment safety is critical to the daily operation of many facilities and their employees. Unfortunately, many companies act only when a very large and tragic event occurs. Many companies believe that explosions, fires, or outages from fuel-fired equipment only happen to others, that their company is immune. Only loss of life seems to make the 11 o'clock news. Headlines soon fade or rarely get the follow-up attention required to highlight the pitfalls of equipment that has been poorly maintained and operated. Today's corporate public relations departments are also very good at shutting down the flow of information that may leak to the media. Little poofs, pops, bulging furnace walls, and pregnant boilers are more prevalent than not, and imply that incident headlines are only the tip of the iceberg. For each incident reported, there are undoubtedly many left unreported because they did not result in death, injury, or significant loss of production. Hence, they are never clearly researched and the lessons are not adequately learned.